The battlefield was silent, except for the faint crackle of distant fires. The stars above the ruined colony shone cold and distant, as if they were watching without care. Ryan moved carefully through the wreckage. His armor was scratched, and his body ached from the long fight, but his human heart pushed him forward. He had survived worse. He always believed humans were hard to break, but something about this night felt heavier. He paused when he heard a low whimper. It was not human. It carried a strange echo, almost a growl hidden inside the sound. Ryan lifted his rifle and turned toward the noise. His boots crunched on the broken metal floor. The whimper came again, softer this time, full of pain. Behind a pile of fallen walls he saw movement. At first he thought it was a wild creature, but then his eyes focused. The shape lying on the ground was not like any animal he knew. It was tall, built with strength, covered in silver-gray fur that shimmered faintly in the firelight. Her body was humanoid, but her face carried the sharp lines of a wolf. Her ears twitched weakly. Her glowing golden eyes opened and locked onto him. Ryan froze. She was alien, clearly not of Earth. His training told him to be careful. Many alien races were hostile. Many saw humans as nothing but tools or threats. But those eyes did not carry hate. They carried desperation. She tried to push herself up, but her arm collapsed under her. She coughed, and a streak of dark blood stained her fur. Ryan lowered his weapon slowly and moved closer. "You can understand me?" he asked quietly. Her lips moved. For a moment, only a broken growl came out, but then the words formed, rough and heavy. "Yes. Human." Ryan blinked in shock. An alien canine that could speak his language was not something he ever expected to meet in this forgotten colony. He knelt beside her. She flinched but did not pull away. He could see the wound on her side. It was deep, burned from energy weapons. She would not live long without help. "Stay still," he said gently. He pulled out a medical patch from his belt and pressed it against the wound. She hissed in pain but did not strike at him. Instead, she stared at him with an expression he could not read. It was something between fear and hope. "Why, help me?" she whispered. Ryan looked at her, surprised by the question. "Because you need it. Because I can." Her ears twitched again. She studied his face with intensity, as if trying to see through his soul. For a long moment, the fire crackled around them, and the broken city seemed to fade. It was only the two of them in that ruined place. At last, she spoke again. Her voice was weaker, but her words were clear. "Human. You should prepare." Ryan frowned. "Prepare for what?" Her golden eyes burned into his. Then, with a sudden force of will, she gripped his wrist. Her claws were sharp, but her touch was careful. She pulled herself closer, her voice shaking but filled with certainty. "We are having puppies." The words struck Ryan like a thunderbolt. His mind spun. He opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. He had patched up aliens before. He had fought them, saved them, sometimes even worked alongside them. But this was beyond anything he could imagine. He stared at her in disbelief. "What do you mean?" She closed her eyes, resting her head against the broken wall. "My kind, we bond once. Life bond. When saved in blood, the bond is sealed. You saved me. Now we are one." Ryan sat back, his heart racing. He wanted to deny it. He wanted to tell her it was impossible. But there was no doubt in her voice. Her tone carried truth, a truth she fully believed. "You cannot be serious," he said softly. Her eyes opened again, glowing brighter as she looked at him. "You do not choose. Nor do I. It is done. Prepare." The silence that followed was heavy. Ryan felt the weight of her words pressing on him. He was just a soldier, a wanderer across the stars, not a man prepared for this kind of fate. Yet here she was, an alien canine queen or warrior or something greater, lying wounded at his feet, declaring a bond he did not understand. He could have walked away. He could have left her to die and erased the moment from his memory. But instead, he stayed. Something in her eyes, something in the quiet trust she placed in him, chained his heart to hers. The night grew colder. The fires burned lower. Ryan wrapped his jacket around her trembling form. She shivered, but when his warmth touched her, her breathing slowed. Her clawed hand did not release his wrist. Ryan stared at the alien sky above them. The universe was vast, cruel, and full of endless war. Yet in this broken city, beside a dying alien who spoke of impossible bonds, he felt something stirring. It was the beginning of something he could not yet name. Ryan sat in silence beside the wounded alien. The fires of the ruined colony burned dim around them, casting strange shadows on the walls. The words she had spoken still echoed in his mind. "We are having puppies." He told himself he must have misheard. She was in pain. She was delirious. Her people must have strange customs, strange ways of speaking. Yet, when he looked at her golden eyes, he felt no lie. There was no trick. She truly believed what she said. Her breathing steadied as the medical patch slowed the bleeding. She turned her head slightly, her ears twitching at every distant sound. Even in weakness, her instincts were sharp. Her gaze returned to him, firm and unblinking. "My name is Kayla," she said. Her voice was husky, carrying both pride and exhaustion. Ryan nodded slowly. "I'm Ryan. Just Ryan." Kayla tilted her head, studying him. "Human name. Short. Simple. Strong." She repeated it, almost testing the sound. "Ryan." For a moment there was quiet. The stars above shimmered through a hole in the broken ceiling. Ryan felt the weight of her stare, the strange bond she had declared. His heart beat faster. He tried to focus on reason. "You need to explain," he said. "What did you mean by that?" Kayla's ears flicked back, and her tail moved slightly against the floor. Her kind had no reason to hide truth, and she spoke with certainty. "Among the Arval, my people, life is not taken lightly. We fight. We bleed. We die. But when one of us is saved from death, a bond is formed. That bond is not broken. It is deeper than choice. It is nature." Ryan frowned. "You're saying because I helped you we're bonded? Forever?" Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the firelight. "Yes. You held my life in your hands. Now your life and mine are joined. The bond is mate bond. It means we fight together. We live together. We raise young together." Ryan let out a sharp breath. "That's insane. We're not even the same species." Kayla's lips curled in what might have been a smile or a baring of teeth. "The universe does not care. The bond does not ask permission. It simply is." Her calm certainty unsettled him. She spoke of impossible things as if they were as natural as breathing. He wanted to push it away, to laugh it off, but he could not. There was something in her voice, something ancient and true, that made denial feel weak. Ryan leaned back against the wall, staring at the ceiling. His mind raced. He had traveled to many worlds, faced death a dozen times, but nothing had prepared him for this. "Why me?" he muttered. "Out of all the beings in this galaxy, why me?" Kayla's gaze softened. Her golden eyes shimmered with something warmer than firelight. "Because you chose to save me when you could have walked away. Because your heart is strong. I felt it the moment your hands touched my wound. I knew then. You are my life mate." Her words carried no hesitation. They were as steady as a vow. Ryan swallowed hard. He had never been anyone's chosen, never been anyone's destiny. The thought shook him. Before he could reply, a sudden sound pierced the silence. The distant roar of engines echoed across the ruined city. Kayla's ears shot up, and her body tensed despite her wounds. "They are hunting me," she whispered. Her claws dug lightly into the ground. "The warlords do not forgive betrayal. I am last of my bloodline. If they find me, they will kill me. And now they will kill you too." Ryan tightened his grip on his rifle. His instincts sharpened. He had fought before. He had survived worse odds. But this time, he was not fighting just for himself. "How many?" he asked quietly. Kayla's eyes narrowed. "At least a dozen hunters. Maybe more. They track my scent. They will come soon." Her voice shook, but not from fear for herself. It was fear for him. The bond she spoke of was already real to her. She saw his life as tied to hers. Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder. Her fur was soft and warm beneath his palm. She stiffened at first, then slowly relaxed. "Then we move," he said firmly. "We find shelter before they get close." She gave a weak nod. He helped her to her feet. She leaned against him, her weight heavy, yet her spirit unbroken. Together they moved through the broken halls, every sound magnified by tension. Ryan felt her warmth pressed against his side, her heartbeat quick and steady. The words she had spoken still circled in his mind, impossible to escape. "We are having puppies." The meaning twisted inside him. It was not just about children. It was about future. About a bond that would change everything. As they reached the edge of the ruins, the glow of enemy lights flickered in the distance. Shadows of hunters moved like wolves in the dark. Kayla bared her teeth, a low growl rumbling in her chest. Ryan raised his rifle, his human eyes cold and focused. He was confused, overwhelmed, and unprepared for the path before him. Yet one truth burned clear in his heart. He would not let them take her. The human and the alien canine stood together in the ruins, side by side, as the hunters closed in. It was the beginning of a bond that would shake both their worlds. The ruined city stretched like a graveyard beneath the stars. Broken towers leaned against each other, their jagged edges cutting the night sky. Ryan guided Kayla through the rubble, every step measured and silent. Her arm was draped over his shoulder, her weight heavy, but her spirit refused to break. The sound of engines roared closer. Red lights flashed in the distance, weaving between the ruins like the eyes of hungry predators. Kayla's ears twitched with every noise, her golden gaze sharp despite her weakness. "They are close," she whispered. "The hunters never rest. They will follow until one of us falls." Ryan tightened his grip on his rifle. "Then we keep moving. We'll lose them." Kayla shook her head, her fur brushing his cheek. "Not easy. They are Yarval hunters. My own kind. They smell fear. They smell blood." Ryan glanced at her side, where the wound still bled faintly despite the patch. His jaw tightened. "Then we give them something else to smell." Her eyes flickered with curiosity, but before she could ask, a sharp howl split the night. It echoed across the ruins, deep and powerful. The hunters had found their trail. Ryan cursed under his breath and pulled Kayla into the shadow of a broken wall. He crouched low, scanning the streets ahead. The howl was answered by others, one by one, until the city rang with their voices. Kayla's claws dug into the ground. "They will circle us. Surround us. That is their way." Ryan's heart pounded, but a strange calm settled over him. He had been hunted before. Not by aliens, but by men, on battlefields where every second meant life or death. Humans had survived predators for thousands of years. Tonight would be no different. He turned to Kayla, his voice steady. "Can you fight?" Her lips curled back, showing sharp teeth. "Even dying, I can kill." He almost smiled. Even in weakness, she carried fire. He adjusted his rifle and motioned forward. "Then we fight together." They moved through the shadows, slipping between broken streets and shattered bridges. Every sound echoed too loud. Every breath felt heavy. The hunters were near. Ryan could feel them like a storm pressing down on his skin. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw movement. A shadow leapt from the rubble, claws flashing in the firelight. Ryan fired. The shot cracked through the night, striking the hunter in midair. The alien fell with a snarl, sliding across the dust. But the others did not falter. More shadows moved, their eyes glowing red, their voices low and hungry. Kayla pushed herself off the wall, her claws slashing through the darkness. One hunter lunged at Ryan, but she struck first, tearing into its chest with a feral roar. Blood splattered across the stone. She stumbled but did not fall. Ryan's rifle burned hot in his hands. He fired again and again, each shot finding its mark. The hunters were fast, but he was faster, his human instincts sharpened by desperation. For a moment, they held their ground. But then Kayla staggered, her legs giving way. Ryan caught her just as another hunter lunged. He twisted, firing at point blank. The creature dropped with a scream. He pulled her close, his breath ragged. "Stay with me!" Her golden eyes met his, fierce even through pain. "I will not leave you, mate!" The words struck deep, louder than the howls around them. He had no time to think about it. He pulled her into a narrow alley, forcing himself to move faster. The hunters howled again, their voices closer. They were not giving up. Ryan could feel the ground vibrate under their pursuit. Kayla whispered through clenched teeth. "They want me alive, but they will kill you." Ryan shook his head, dragging her forward. "Then they'll have to get through me first." The alley opened into a crumbled plaza. In the center stood the broken statue of an alien king, its head shattered, its arms reaching toward the sky. The hunters emerged from the shadows, circling, their eyes burning like coals. Ryan set Kayla gently against the base of the statue. He raised his rifle, his chest heaving, his body shaking from exhaustion and fear, but his eyes steady. Kayla reached out, her claws brushing his arm. "Ryan! Humans are strange. No Arval would fight this way for another. You fight not for survival, but for me." He glanced at her, sweat dripping down his brow. "You saved me too. Maybe not with claws, but with trust. That's worth fighting for." Her lips parted in something almost like a smile. Her gaze softened, and for the first time, the bond she spoke of did not feel impossible. It felt real. The hunters crouched low, ready to strike. Ryan tightened his grip on the rifle. His heart beat like thunder. At that moment, Kayla pushed herself up beside him. Her wounds still bled, her body still weak, but her spirit blazed. She stood tall, shoulder to shoulder with him. Together, human and alien faced the circle of hunters. The night trembled with their defiance. The first hunter leapt. Ryan fired. Kayla roared. And the chase turned into a battle that would test the bond between them. The plaza was littered with broken bodies. Smoke from Ryan's rifle still hung in the air, and Kayla's claws dripped with the dark blood of her kin. The hunters had fallen one by one, their howls fading into silence. But victory did not feel like triumph. It felt heavy, dangerous, and fragile. Ryan lowered his rifle slowly. His arms shook from the effort, his chest rising and falling with each ragged breath. He turned to Kayla. She was standing but only barely, her fur matted with blood, her golden eyes dim with exhaustion. "You're hurt," he said quickly, moving to steady her. Kayla leaned against him, her strength giving way. Her body trembled, but her voice carried quiet defiance. "I still stand. That is enough." Ryan shook his head. "No. You need more than that. You need care." He helped her back to the base of the ruined statue. With careful hands, he checked her wounds. His fingers brushed against her fur as he removed the damaged patch and replaced it with another. She winced but did not pull away. Instead, she fixed her gaze on him, studying his every movement. "You treat me as if I am fragile," she whispered. "You're not fragile," Ryan said firmly. "But you're alive, and I want you to stay that way." For a long moment, she was silent. Then her lips curved in a faint, weary smile. "Humans are strange. My people see weakness in kindness. But you see strength." Ryan paused, looking into her glowing eyes. "Maybe that's what makes us human." Kayla tilted her head, her ears twitching. "Or maybe that is what makes you mine." Her words sent a strange warmth through him, heavier than the fear of battle. He could not explain it, but something inside him stirred whenever she spoke like that. It was not just survival anymore. It was something deeper, something that tied him to her beyond logic. The night grew colder. The fire from the battle had burned out, leaving the plaza in shadow. Ryan lit a small flame from his pack and set it in a cracked metal bowl. The glow cast their faces in soft light. Kayla curled slightly beside him, her tail wrapping around her legs. For the first time since they met, the silence was not filled with fear. It was filled with something gentler. "Tell me about your people," Ryan said quietly. Kayla's ears lifted. "The Arval are hunters. Warriors. We live for battle and for honor. We choose our mates only once. The bond is sacred. It cannot be broken." Her eyes lowered. "I was heir to the last clan of the royal line. That is why the warlords hunt me. If I fall, no bloodline remains. They will rule unchallenged." Ryan frowned. "So you're more than just a warrior. You're a leader." Her gaze hardened, but her voice trembled. "I was supposed to be. But my people betrayed me. My own guards turned against me. They said I was weak. Too soft to rule." Ryan leaned closer. "You're not weak. I've seen the way you fight. I've seen the way you survive. If that's weakness, then I'd take you as my leader any day." Kayla's eyes widened slightly. Then she lowered her head, resting it gently against his shoulder. "Your words, they heal more than the wounds on my body." Ryan froze, surprised by the closeness, but he did not move away. He let her stay, feeling the steady rhythm of her breathing against him. For a man who had drifted through so many wars, carrying only his rifle and his armor, this moment felt different. It felt like belonging. The stars above shimmered, and the city seemed quieter now. Ryan's mind turned back to the words that had started all of this. "We are having puppies." At first, it had shocked him. Now, sitting beside her, he began to understand that it was more than literal. It was about a shared path, a shared future, a bond that tied them in ways no human rulebook could explain. Kayla stirred, lifting her head. Her golden eyes burned again, though softer now, warmer. "Ryan, I do not fear death. I never have. But with you, I fear losing this." Ryan met her gaze. His voice was low, steady, and true. "Then we don't lose it. Not to them. Not to anyone." Her claws brushed against his hand, careful and deliberate. For a creature born to tear and kill, her touch was gentle, almost tender. Before Ryan could say more, a sharp noise echoed in the distance. The ground trembled faintly. Kayla's ears snapped forward, and her body tensed again. "The warlords," she said, her voice tight. "That was no patrol. They are setting a trap." Ryan grabbed his rifle, his body shifting back into battle focus. The quiet moment shattered, but the bond remained. He looked at her, and for the first time, he saw not just an alien, not just a fighter, but someone he could not imagine leaving behind. "Then we'll walk into their trap," he said, eyes blazing. "Together." Kayla bared her teeth, not in anger, but in a smile that carried both pride and fire. "Yes. Together." The night was far from over. The hunters were only the beginning. The real danger waited ahead, but so did the truth of their bond. The ruins grew quieter as Ryan and Kayla moved deeper into the city. The air was thick with dust, and every broken wall looked like it was watching them. Ryan's grip tightened on his rifle, his nerves sharp. He knew too well what silence meant in war. Silence meant danger was waiting. Kayla walked close at his side, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Her wounds slowed her steps, but her spirit was steady. Her ears twitched at the faintest sound, every sense alive. She sniffed the air, her claws flexing slightly. "They are here," she whispered. Ryan stopped. He scanned the shadows. "How many?" "Too many," Kayla said. Her voice was low and grim. "This silence, this is their way. They do not chase. They wait. They make prey step into the jaws." Ryan frowned. "A trap." Kayla nodded. "Yes. And we already walk inside it." A sudden howl cut through the night. It came from the left. Another answered from the right. Ryan's chest tightened. They were surrounded. He pressed his back to a half-collapsed wall, pulling Kayla close. The shadows moved. Figures stepped out from the ruins, armored hunters with glowing eyes and long blades that shimmered in the dark. Their leader stood taller than the rest, his armor etched with crimson markings. His gaze locked on Kayla with a hunger that made Ryan's skin crawl. "Kayla of the royal blood," the warlord growled, his voice like thunder. "You run long, but your end is here." His eyes shifted to Ryan. "And the human dies with you." Kayla bared her teeth, her claws flashing in the faint light. "You will not touch him." The warlord laughed, a low, cruel sound. "You bond with prey. You shame your blood. No matter. You both will die." The circle of hunters closed in. Ryan's heart raced. He had fought hard battles before, but never against creatures like this, never while carrying the weight of someone else's life in his hands. He leaned close to Kayla. "We fight together." Her golden eyes met his. "Until the last breath." The hunters leapt. Ryan fired, his rifle cracking through the air. One fell, then another, but more surged forward. Kayla roared, slashing with claws that tore through armor. The plaza filled with the sound of gunfire, snarls, and the clash of steel against stone. Ryan's arms burned as he fired again and again. A blade slashed across his side, cutting through his armor. He grunted in pain but stayed standing. Kayla lunged at the attacker, tearing him down before he could strike again. The warlord moved through the chaos like a shadow, his blade cutting arcs of fire in the dark. He was faster, stronger, and far more dangerous than the rest. Ryan could feel his presence pressing closer with each passing second. Another hunter lunged at Ryan from behind. Before he could react, Kayla pushed him aside, taking the blow across her back. She snarled in fury and struck the attacker down, but blood stained her fur. "Kayla!" Ryan shouted, catching her as she stumbled. Her breathing was heavy, her body trembling, but her eyes still burned. "I will not fall," she growled. Ryan's chest tightened. He had to protect her. He had to keep her alive. But the circle was closing tighter, and the warlord's shadow loomed closer. The warlord raised his blade high, his voice booming. "The human dies first." Ryan's body moved on instinct. He pushed Kayla behind him and stood tall, rifle raised. His heart pounded like thunder. Fear burned in his chest, but something stronger rose with it. Defiance. He fired at the warlord. The shot sparked against the alien's armor, but the giant only growled. He stepped forward, swinging his blade in a wide arc. Ryan barely dodged, the weapon slicing the air where his head had been. Kayla lunged to join him, but the warlord kicked her back. She hit the ground with a cry of pain. "Stay down!" Ryan shouted, his voice breaking. But Kayla struggled up again, her eyes fierce. "I will not stay down. Not while you fight alone." Ryan's chest ached at her words. He turned back to the warlord, his grip firm on his rifle. He was outmatched, wounded, and surrounded. Yet his spirit blazed with something no alien could ever crush. Humans did not bow. Humans did not surrender. The warlord lunged again, his blade flashing. Ryan blocked with the butt of his rifle, the impact sending shockwaves through his arms. He staggered but did not fall. He spat blood, his eyes locked on the enemy. "If you want her," Ryan growled, his voice raw, "you go through me." Kayla's roar echoed beside him as she rose again, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. Together, they faced the warlord and the circle of hunters. Their bodies were broken, their odds impossible, but their bond burned brighter than fear. The trap had been sprung. But Ryan and Kayla were no prey. They were something far more dangerous. The plaza shook with the roar of the warlord as he raised his blade high. The hunters howled around him, their voices echoing like thunder in the ruins. Ryan stood in the center with Kayla at his side. His body was bruised, his armor cracked, but his eyes burned with fire. The warlord's voice rumbled through the night. "Human, you stand in the way of kings. You think your weak flesh can defy steel? You will break." Ryan wiped blood from his mouth and lifted his rifle again. His hands trembled, not from fear but from pain, from exhaustion, and from the weight of the choice he had already made. "I don't care who you are," he said firmly. "You won't touch her." Kayla growled low beside him, her golden eyes glowing like molten fire. "We fight together," she said. The warlord lunged forward, his blades slicing through the air. Ryan fired. The shot struck the warlord's chest, sparking against his armor. The giant barely slowed. The weapon slammed down toward Ryan's head, and he barely rolled aside, the stone floor cracking where the blade struck. Kayla leapt at the warlord, claws flashing. She raked across his arm, leaving glowing cuts in his armor. The warlord roared and swung, hurling her to the ground. She rolled, snarled, and stood again despite the pain. Ryan fired again and again, each shot striking hard but never deep enough. His rifle clicked empty. He tossed it aside and pulled the combat blade from his belt. His heart thundered in his chest. He had fought with knives before. He knew the feel of steel in close combat. The warlord swung again. Ryan ducked under the strike and slashed at the alien's leg. Sparks flew. The warlord grunted but did not fall. He turned, faster than his size should allow, and slammed his arm into Ryan's chest. The impact hurled Ryan across the ground. He crashed against the statue, his body screaming in pain. His vision blurred. For a moment, darkness tried to claim him. But then he heard Kayla's voice. "Ryan!" He forced his eyes open. Kayla was still fighting, claws tearing, body bleeding. The warlord was toying with her, circling like a predator waiting for the final kill. Ryan's chest burned, his ribs aching, but he pushed himself up. He would not let her stand alone. He staggered forward, each step heavy, his blade tight in his hand. The warlord noticed and laughed, the sound cruel and deep. "You rise again? Human, you do not know when to die." Ryan's voice was hoarse but steady. "That's the thing about humans. We never stop." The warlord snarled and charged. Ryan met him head-on. The clash was brutal. Steel against steel. Claw against flesh. Ryan ducked, rolled, and struck at every weak point he could find. He was smaller, weaker, slower, but he was relentless. Every time the warlord struck him down, he rose again. Every time he bled, he tightened his grip and fought harder. Kayla saw it. Her golden eyes widened as she watched him fight with fury that no HFY could match. This was not just survival. This was defiance. This was something only a human could do. With a roar, Ryan drove his blade into the warlord's side. The alien howled in pain and swung wildly, knocking Ryan to the ground. The knife stayed lodged in the warlord's armor, glowing faintly with blood. The warlord raised his weapon high, ready to finish him. But Kayla leapt from the side, her claws sinking deep into the warlord's chest. She snarled with all her strength, dragging him back. The warlord staggered, his blade slicing only empty air. Ryan rolled to his feet, chest heaving, vision red with pain and rage. He saw the opening, the weak point where Kayla's claws had torn through armor. He grabbed his rifle, slammed in the last clip he carried, and aimed with steady hands. "This is humanity," he said through clenched teeth. The rifle cracked. The shot struck true, straight into the torn armor. The warlord roared, stumbled, and dropped his blade. His massive form shook, then collapsed with a thunderous crash. Silence followed. The hunters froze, their eyes wide. Their leader lay fallen, struck down not by another warlord, but by a wounded human and a bleeding alien canine who stood together as one. The hunters growled low, uncertain. Then, one by one, they backed away into the shadows. Without their leader, they would not stay. Ryan fell to one knee, his rifle slipping from his hands. His chest burned with every breath. Kayla stumbled to him, her claws shaking, her body covered in blood. She caught him before he collapsed fully. "You fought like fire," she whispered. Her voice was soft but filled with awe. "No HFY would fight through such pain. You should be dead. Yet you rise again." Ryan gave a faint, tired smile. "That's what makes us human." Kayla lowered her head, pressing her forehead gently to his. Her golden eyes glowed with warmth. Then I am proud that you are mine. The bond between them was no longer just words. It had been forged in fire and blood. Together they had done the impossible. Together they had defied death itself. But Ryan knew the fight was not over. The warlord had fallen, but more enemies would come. Their path was still dangerous, their future still uncertain. And yet, for the first time in his long, lonely life, Ryan felt something more than survival. He felt purpose. The warlord's body lay still on the cold stone. His massive frame was broken, his weapon shattered, his reign ended. Around him, the ruined plaza was silent. The hunters who had once circled Ryan and Kayla had fled into the night, unwilling to face the fire that had brought down their leader. Ryan leaned heavily against the cracked statue. His chest heaved with each breath, his ribs aching, his body screaming from wounds. Yet he was still standing. He looked at Kayla, who knelt beside him, her golden eyes glowing softly in the dim light. She touched his shoulder, her claws careful against his torn armor. "You fought like no other," she whispered. "Even broken, you rose again. Even dying, you would not stop." Ryan gave a weak smile, his voice rough. "Humans don't stop. We never stop." Her eyes softened. "Now I understand why the galaxy fears your kind. And why. I can trust my life with you." For a moment they sat together in the quiet, the stars shining above them, the smell of smoke still heavy in the air. Ryan felt her warmth beside him, steady and grounding, a reminder that he was not alone. Kayla lowered her head slightly, her ears flicking back. "Ryan, do you still doubt the bond?" He met her gaze. At first, when she had spoken of bonds and lifemates, he had resisted. He had called it madness, superstition, the dream of a dying alien. But now, after everything they had faced, he could not deny what burned inside him. "No," he said softly. "I don't doubt it anymore." Her lips curled in something close to a smile. "Then it is sealed. You are mine. And I am yours." Ryan exhaled slowly, the weight of those words settling over him. It was not a chain. It was not a trap. It was choice, his choice. And for the first time in years, it felt right. The sound of distant engines broke the moment. Kayla's ears twitched, and she tensed. "More will come," she said. "The warlords do not stop with one. They will hunt again. For me. For us." Ryan pushed himself to his feet, wincing as his wounds protested. He picked up his rifle and checked the remaining rounds. There were few, but his hands were steady. "Then let them come," he said firmly. "We'll be ready." Kayla rose beside him, her body battered but her spirit unshaken. Her golden eyes burned with pride as she looked at him. Together, they left the plaza and moved into the ruins side by side. The night was cold, the danger far from over, but the bond between them gave each step strength. As they walked, Kayla's voice softened, carrying a strange warmth. "When I said we are having puppies, you thought it was madness." Ryan glanced at her with a faint grin. "Yeah. I wasn't exactly ready for that." She tilted her head, her tail swaying slightly. "But now you see. It is not only about children. It is about a future. A life joined. Our fight is no longer yours or mine. It is ours." Ryan nodded slowly. "I get it now. And I'm not running from it." The ruins gave way to an open path leading toward the mountains. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky with pale gold and soft red. The first light touched Kayla's fur, making it glow like fire. She looked at Ryan, and in that moment she seemed less like a wounded warrior and more like something eternal, something destined. Ryan felt his chest tighten, not from pain but from the strange, powerful truth of it. He was no longer a lone soldier drifting between battles. He had a bond, a purpose, a partner who trusted him completely. Kayla stopped and turned to face him. Her voice was quiet, almost gentle. "Do you regret it? Saving me? Binding yourself to me?" Ryan shook his head. His voice was steady, without hesitation. No. I'd do it again. Every time. Her golden eyes shone, and for a moment, the fierce warrior looked almost shy. Then prepare, human. For whatever comes. For battles. For life. For us. Ryan gave a small laugh, the sound tired but filled with strength. I'll prepare. But with you, Kayla, I don't think I'll ever fight alone again. She stepped closer, pressing her forehead against his, her claws resting lightly on his arm. Never, she whispered. The sun rose higher, and the ruined city was bathed in light. Together, human and alien walked forward into the unknown, not as strangers, not as prey or predator, but as life-mates bound by fire, blood, and choice. The galaxy would not forget this bond. And neither would they.